Hey everybody, this is Ryan Howard and welcome to the Philly Show.
Phillies drop their season opening series against the Rangers. They get no hit through 4 2/3 innings on Saturday. They get no hit through 5 innings on Sunday. Not a good weekend for the Phillies. Not a good way to start the season. And we kind of joked about this, guys, the other day about season opening series, season opening day, the massive overreaction that usually takes place. We'll try to keep it tight today. Not overreact too much. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecky. How's everybody doing? Guys, what do you think of? Let's just jump right in, of course, and talk about this weekend. Not a lot of offense.
And it seemed like the paying customers were a little frustrated too at times on Sunday.
Yep. They heard I definitely some boos. Bryce Harper struck out swinging in the 6th inning, and that was, I mean, it wasn't like crazy boos. It wasn't, I've heard worse, a lot worse over the years, of course, but you could hear him. Bryce was getting booed on Sunday.
Yeah, it was not pretty. The first 3 guys in the lineup really basically did nothing.
Right.
I mean, Bryce did get one big base hit at some point during the I guess the comeback innings on Saturday. Got a broken bat base hit. That was big.
Mm-hmm.
Adolis Garcia got a hit down the left field line. That was big. But by and large, I mean, the big 3 really didn't do very much. Trey Turner had a slow start. Hasn't done a whole lot after the first game, and really not too much offensive punch at all. Alec Bowen had a big home run in the first game,
right?
But they just didn't. They're just not clicking on all cylinders. And I made the point during the course of the post game that the reality of it is that in this day and age, and I used to talk to Charlie Manuel about this all the time, they don't get enough at bats during spring training to really be ready. This is spring training. And for the next maybe week or so or 10 days, it's going to be spring training. And so you're not going to have many guys who are in a ton of rhythm other than the guys that got more at bats. And not too many guys got a lot of at bats. There was a time when I used to play and when I was a GM and in the front office, when you hoped to get the guys between 60 and 80 plate appearances. That ain't happening.
No.
First of all, in the first week of the spring of games, guys are getting like 10 at bats. That's not enough. And they really play themselves into their rhythm. And that's the reality. It's not just the Phillies. It's pretty much every single team. And that's the way
the Rangers. The Rangers must have got enough at bats.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rangers swung the bats okay. They weren't like crushing it.
Yeah.
And they made good swings on some mistakes that the Phillies made, because there were some mistakes made by Nola and Luzardo in the middle of the plate, and they were smoked. But it wasn't like they crushed the baseball over the place. Now, Berger had a pretty good series. Corey Seager swung the bat okay. Nimmo did okay. But, I mean, nobody really dominated.
Well, it's funny you say that, Ruben. So Justin Crawford, I think, led the Phillies in plate appearances. He was in the top 5 for sure. He had 55 plate appearances all spring. And then also, to your point, talking to Trey Turner after the game today, he was basically saying, like, hey, listen, everybody wants to get off to a good start. We didn't get off to a good start. We're going to be fine. I do believe that. They're going to be fine. It's 3 games. It is what it is. But he did add that, hey, once you get going in the season, once you start get into a rhythm every day, you start getting 5 at-bats every day, you're going to start getting into a little bit more of a groove offensively. So he kind of, addressed that point indirectly, I guess. And, Trey actually had a terrible spring training. He batted 133. And I don't know if you guys saw the post-game interview with what Matt Gelb goes, he didn't really have a great spring. And Trey actually said, I'm happy about it, because the best spring I've ever had is the worst year I've ever had. I ever played, and he was referring to 2023, of course. He batted 478 for the Phillies that spring. Had this awesome performance for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, and then he had one of the worst years of his career. And then he added my three best years. I think I was looking it up in the spring. I probably hit 250, and he was right. He batted he batted 179 last spring, won the batting title. He batted 170 in spring of 2021, won a batting title. And he batted 189 in 2020, the shortened spring training, and he batted 335 that year. But it was funny. He says, I think I was looking it up in spring training. When a player says, I think I was looking it up in spring training, that means he looked it up in spring training and he knew for a fact what those numbers were. So Trey looked it up to make sure, hey, am I going to be all right? I'm going to be all right. So he seems to think he's going to be all right. But so the offense definitely struggled. They, as I mentioned, no hit through 4 2/3 innings on Saturday, no hit through 5 innings on Sunday. They had one hit going with 2 outs in the 9th inning on Saturday, and somehow ended up tying that game. But a lot of chase.
Well,
go ahead, Jim.
They ended up tying that game on a total freak show. I mean, Adolis Garcia swings at the first pitch and pops it up, and Jake Berger drops what should have been a game-ending pop-up. I mean,
right.
it went from basically a horrible at bat to a acceptable at bat because he hits a broken bat double to keep things going. But there were actually, for as bad as that at bat by Garcia could have been, it turned out to be a good at bat. And there were some good at bats in that inning. Sosa draws a 3-2 walk.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 3. Bohm had one. The 3 2-strike hits. But that was the only inning on Saturday they really put together anything. I mean, you can't get no hit for 5 innings and 4 2/3 innings in back-to-back days. If you need to sustain some offense and get something going early, that you just put yourself in a situation where you're chasing all day and have these. You try to have a mad dash comeback at the end. That the only reason it looked good is because Jake Berger dropped that ball.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, listen, they didn't swing the bats well at all. They were fortunate to get back into that game at all. And then McCutchen ended up getting a couple of big base hits, one on Saturday and a big home run against Luzardo. So he swung the bat pretty well. It's nice to see him. Just because he's such a good guy, you like to see him have success. You don't want to see him necessarily have success against the Phillies. But, I mean, listen, this is a much better team offensively than what we saw this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to get into those situations where you're trying to claw out of a deficit. And you just put a lot of pressure on the starting pitcher to have to make really good pitches all the time if you don't get an early lead. They got an early lead for Sanchez, and they won the game. Mm-hmm. They couldn't muster up nary a hit in the next 2 days, and it puts the pressure on the starting pitcher to toss nothing but goose eggs up there, and that's a tough thing to do.
What did you guys think of Otto
McCutchen?
Go ahead.
I was going to say McCutchen still knows how to use that bat head, doesn't he?
Yeah, he can still get the barrel to the ball. I mean, he lit up a couple of mistakes. Some pitches did he get to? One on a very good Joan Duran fastball sinker, and one on a pretty good fastball from Luzardo that missed a spot. But he got the barrel to the ball when he needed to. And I think, Todd, you were getting ready to allude to the outfield play by the Fightin' Phils.
Yeah, Sunday was not good. Yeah, go ahead.
It was not pretty. Now, but I don't know that either one of those fly balls to left field were catchable.
Right.
The second one, perhaps, if you had somebody who was a little fleeter of foot or has a little bit more experience in the outfield. But part of the experience is the reason why they ended up getting extra runs, extra runners, extra men on extra bases, because Otto Kemp really hasn't played a ton of outfield, and he sort of has to know when to back off the wall when the ball is going to get off the wall.
Right.
And you saw him sort of chasing the ball around out there in the outfield. So these are things that they're going to have to fight through. And if he's not, able to do it offensively to pick up for some of maybe his shortcomings defensively, then, he may not be in Philadelphia too long because Brian De La Cruz is sitting down there in Lehigh Valley, and he's a little bit more accomplished in the outfield.
No doubt about that. So,
Point.
and then Nola. Real quick? What did you guys think of Nola on Saturday? That was going into the season, of course, going through spring training, of course, that was a big focal point for the Phillies. If they could get him right, how much of a difference that would make in the rotation. I think it was 3 runs, 5 innings, gave up a couple home runs, as he's prone to do. What did you guys think of his start?
Thought he was okay, not exceptional. Okay, he just cannot get away with any mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
He doubles up on a breaking ball to Berger, and the first one was good. The second one was up and over the plate, and Berger just hits it off the foul pole. Gave up another home run. Seager, high fastball. 92. You're not going to really get that by a guy who's sitting dead red there. So he cannot make mistakes over the plate. He has to be very fine. And there were times in that game where he was. He got a bunch of swing and misses, threw some good breaking balls. But he has to just carry that precision through pretty much the whole start if he's going to get wins, and if the team is going to win behind him. Because when he makes a mistake and there's runners on base, it's 2 or 3 runs, and those add up.
He definitely did not have the sharpness that he had in the WBC and in the start that led up to the WBC while he's pitching with the Phillies still. Velocity was at 90 to 92. He was averaging right around a 91 mile an hour fastball. In the games before that and in the WBC, he got his fastball into the 93, 94 range. Makes a huge difference. And it also shows up in the sharpness of his breaking ball when he has better arm speed. So a little discouraging only because he went back-to-back games now. The last game that he pitched in spring training and this game, he probably averaged between 90 and 91 with his fastball. And that's going to make it such that, as Jim said, he's going to have to be perfect with his stuff, and he cannot miss his spots. Couldn't get that sinker to come back over, that front door sinker that was working pretty well during the course of most of the spring. That backdoor sinker on right-handers, front door to lefties, couldn't get that going, and didn't really have the life on his fastball and his other stuff that he typically has. But we'll see whether he is able to bounce back and create some of that velocity and arm speed in his next few starts.
Well, it wasn't a great night to pitch. At least we know that it was
no, and he doesn't like to pitch in the cold. I know that's not an excuse, but right. He didn't have grip. He didn't have a real good grip on his breaking ball. Didn't really have a consistent bite. Had to do some good ones.
Yeah,
I looked like he typically does.
I looked up all the pitchers that threw on Saturday. I was just curious, as because his velo was down, as you mentioned, Ruben. And every pitcher that pitched on Saturday except one, their velocity was down on Saturday. So I don't know. People talk about the weather and getting loose, and Zach Wheeler's velo wasn't, about where it was.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah.
It's a thing.
I'm not saying that's why, but I just, I was looking at it. I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll be right back.
AJ, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Fox One. Fox One is where you can watch AJ Pierzynski. And I get this email every week now, AJ, that says what to watch this week on Fox One. They give you the weekly watch list. And now that is going to be full of Saturday MLB games with a little bit of you, a little bit of Ken Rosenthal, and your friends.
Absolutely. That starts next Saturday, Sky. You can watch all the games on the Fox One app. You can watch college basketball. You can watch college football. You can watch, they have IndyCar, they have NASCAR, and they have great shows. Fox One is the app that really does have it all.
Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, streaming now.
All right, we're back. Philly show is back. It's Monday, and that means it is time for Manco and Manco
I
Best
love
Week.
that.
There we go. Manco Best Week. It's where we pick the best Phillies play performance of the past week. Ooh, baby.
There can only be one.
Who you got?
There can only be one. It's got to be Christopher Sanchez.
Christopher Sanchez was fantastic.
I mean, who else could it possibly be?
Christopher Sanchez was fantastic. I mean, what a performance by him. We talked a lot about him on Friday's show. I mean, the comments coming from the Rangers clubhouse were glowing about Christopher Sanchez, calling him a bona fide superstar. You know, we can see why he finished second for NL Cy Young. All of that stuff. I mean, what a stud. What a stud.
No walks, power stuff, racks up a bunch of strikeouts. Just an amazing growth, and he's one of the best in baseball. And it's fun to watch him pitch. So he's a hands down best of the week.
Hands down best.
Yeah, I mean, it was historic. No walks, 10 strikeouts. When was the last time that happened? Like 1920 or some crazy number.
Yeah, Bob Gibson was one of those guys that did that on opening day. Chris Short did that once on opening day. I think it was like a couple other guys had done it way back in the day. Somebody probably with a crazy nickname got that done. You know, Mordecai Three Fingers Brown or something like that. Got that done. Somebody named Crazy Legs or the one-armed man back in the
Jones.
Yeah, Pudd'nhead Jones. Somebody like that probably had a game like that at some point way back in the day. If I was going to give an honorable mention, maybe Justin Crawford had a nice little weekend for himself. First weekend in the big leagues. Got his first big league hit. He had 2 hits on opening day. He made that nice catch at the wall in the 3rd inning at Monty's angle on Saturday. I actually talked pregame Sunday to Justin and Paco Figueroa about that, just because that's a tough play. How many times have we seen a new outfielder play in this ballpark or visiting outfield and just screw it up big time, and that ball kicks to the right, and then that JT Realmuto's running around the bases or Bryce Harper's running around the bases for an inside the park home run. I wrote a little bit about that in my Phillies Beat newsletter coming out on Monday, so check that out. But they kind of talked about all the prep work that went into making that catch, all the prep work that they did last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, and kind of like what they talked about, how they prepared for it, and it kind of paid off. So and then Justin broke up the no-hitter on Sunday with that swinging bunt single down to third base.
I couldn't understand what Josh Young was doing by picking up the baseball. I don't really understand whether people even understand how to play the game anymore. There's no way to get the guy. It was before the base still. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it would have gone foul, but the only way that they could have got luck out of that is by just letting the ball go and see if it trickled foul. He picks it up on the move. It was like, why didn't Adolis Garcia have his shades on? Right. I mean, he had shades, but nobody uses flip downs. I talked about this. He had shades on, but he didn't have flip downs. They don't wear flip down.
Why don't they block the sun with their bare hand?
That's the other thing, or the glove. But my thing is this. The flip down glasses are the only, you can call me old school idiot. You can call me whatever you want. But the flip down glasses are the only ones that actually block the sun, that you can look into the sun and still distinguish where the ball is. Those work. The other glasses, as much as you want to think that they're working, I don't care what brand it is, they don't work. They don't do that. They're not built or designed to do it. And I don't understand why players don't use them. It's insane. I'd be pissed off if I was a pitcher. The sun's been up there for 10 billion years.
I'm trying to think of the last player to wear flip downs. I was actually talking to Phil Sheridan, the Phillies clubhouse manager, about this a few years ago about flip downs. And there's a company that still makes them. And I think maybe Nolan Arenado wears them.
Gargoyle.
Gargoyle. There you go. That's it. Gargoyle.
Gargoyle's the company. Yes, I know, because I
Yes.
try to force some of my
Love
Boston
to
Red
see.
Sox outfielders and Mets guys to use them, because it's the only. Those are the only. And before that, it was a different company. I can't remember the name of the company when I was playing in the outfield, but nobody uses them. It's insane.
You're right. Nobody does use them.
I never see them.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
never see them, and I saw them all the time way back when. Everybody had them. They're running under your visor. You flipped them down, but there's also other ways. Is what you angle your body so you're looking away from the sun, or use your bare hand and you bring it down, bring it right down into your glove. Didn't even use
It is a
another
drill
hand.
that I actually used in Boston and with the Mets, that I had a sun drill just to do that.
Hmm.
We used to hit fly balls into the sun for the outfielder so that they can work their bodies around the angle, so that they could either see the ball without getting the sun involved
Hmm.
or use their glove to block it. I'm
Real
not
quick-
sure if that's done. I'm not sure if that's done. Those drills are done. I would assume Paco does do it. He's an outstanding outfield coach. But those plays have to be made, and they're never considered errors, and they should be. They gave errors to Berger because of the balls that he dropped, and they were created by the wind. So what's the difference?
That's a good point.
What is the difference? They're both done by the elements, by the gods' elements. So
Right.
they should be errors, but the pitchers get screwed out of the deal.
The gods have smote Adolis Garcia.
I mean, listen, I'm not trying to get.
Why would you?
He's an outstanding outfielder,
Right.
Phenomenal. But in my estimation, those plays have to be made, and if they're not made, and it's because of the sun, then it is an error.
You're right about that. You're right about that. All right, so real quick before we move on, I want to mention, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, please. Support the show. And of course, go to thephilliesshowshop.com to check out all the swag. Ooh, look at all that great stuff. Look at all that great stuff. Check it out. Go to thephilliesshowshop.com. All right, we're back. We're back. And let's talk about the week ahead. It's a big week.
Ooh.
It's a big week. You've got Andrew Painter making his ML debut on Tuesday. Very exciting. Phillies open a 3-game series on Monday night against the Nationals. Jim, I found some pitching probables for you. Left-hander Foster Griffin is pitching on Monday night against Taijuan Walker. We got TBD against Andrew Painter on Tuesday. And then Cade Cavalli is going to pitch against Christopher Sanchez on Wednesday.
How do you have a TBD in the 5th game of the season?
Hey, man.
Can someone explain to me how you have a TBD in the 5th game of the season?
You know what? I will. That is something that
unless there's an injury that's associated.
Right. That's something that is now way more common now. I mean, back in the day, you'd had the pitching probables, several days out, and now I feel like teams are just we're gonna try to trick. I don't know if they're trying to trick somebody or they're playing like it's a really bad game of poker or what, but so many teams hold back their starters now. Does it come on?
Or they just have a crappy rotation and they don't have anybody to pitch it.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, I mean it's that as well. I mean that's probably more likely, Ruben. But I do notice that teams you're a day out from a series and it's like they haven't sent out their probables yet. This team hasn't sent out their probables yet. And this is mid-season. This is late in the season. This is early in the season. So, but Andrew Painter is making his MLB debut on Tuesday.
Awesome.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. His high school pitching coach was at the game today with his family. I talked to him for a little bit. I wrote a story for MLB.com, kind of talked to a lot of his former coaches, managers, teammates from high school all the way up through the AAA season last year. Talked to a lot of the scouts from the Phillies that watched him throughout high school. people in player development with the Phillies, just kind of sharing their favorite stories. And I kind of started every interview by saying, hey, if Andrew Painter, in 20 years from now, Andrew Painter wins 2 Cy Youngs, wins a World Series, he's a 10-time All-Star, what's the story you're going to tell people about? I caught Andrew Painter in high school. I caught Andrew Painter in AA. I caught one start of his in rookie ball, or whatever the case may be. What's the story you tell? And they told some cool little stories about Andrew Painter. So if you haven't, check that out at MLB.com. That
was a great story.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, but it was
It
fun.
was a great story, like an oral history.
Good stuff, Zoe.
Yeah,
that's why you're the Todd Pod.
I just do what I can, man. Just do what I can. But so you got Painter on Tuesday. Zach Wheeler's going to make his second rehab start on Friday in Durham, North Carolina. So everything seemed to be okay in Lehigh Valley on Saturday for Zach Wheeler. So that's also.
And what'd you think about what you saw from him on Saturday, Jim? Zach Wheeler and Orion Kerkering.
Well, I was in Philadelphia and they were in Lehigh Valley, but everything I heard was Wheeler remains right on target for maybe 2 or 3 more and get back here. And no red flags, looking healthy, popping it good. I mean, he pitched on a ridiculously cold day as well, but I think he's going to be back here pretty soon and be Zach Wheeler again.
Kind of interesting that they both went out there with no sleeves. Both Kerkering and Wheeler on that blustery day
Nola
went out there. And Nola did too. But I mean, it's kind of crazy. Those guys, I guess they must feel, talking to some pitchers, they must feel some restriction when they wear sleeves. So they went out there and dealt. Kerkering was really efficient. 10 pitches, 7 strikes. 1, 2, 3 inning. I think he got a punch out. We used a split a couple of times. He's going to go back to back, I think. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then likely will be activated when the team gets to Colorado, I would think.
Yeah, I think. Well, maybe
San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe San Francisco. Yeah, I think that's when he's eligible to be activated. But it's right around the corner, especially if he goes. They want to get that back to back in on Tuesday and Wednesday. And Rob Thompson said, of course, he's like, listen, if he throws a ton of pitches on Tuesday, maybe he doesn't go back to back on Wednesday, and then we can maybe push the back to back to over the weekend or whatever the case may be. So keep an eye on all of that. Phillies bats. They got to pick it up.
Time to pick it up. They got to face maybe the worst staff in the history of the game last year. Colorado and Washington Nationals, bad staffs. Back to back, they should do some damage against those.
They really should, Ruben.
They should. Look at the number. These numbers don't lie.
No. These numbers do not lie. Mackenzie Gore is not on that national staff anymore.
You ain't kidding.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys. We'll be back later this week. We'll talk about Andrew Painter's MLB debut.
Oh, that'll be fun. All right. Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.